For many people, their main company over recent months has been the TV. And for one tiny station, it's been its busiest time ever. Talking Pictures is run from an office in a garden in Hertfordshire by a father and daughter. Its peak weekly audience has reached almost 6 million. And the reason it's been so popular? It runs old, largely forgotten black and white movies.
I'm Carlos and welcome along to another Byte High No Limit podcast, a social history of technology. Today I'm joined by Sarah Cronin Stanley and we're talking about 10 years of Talking Pictures TV. Yeah, so today I'm joined by Sarah from Talking Pictures TV. What's your full title, Sarah?
I don't know that I've got one. Managing director, I suppose. There's only three of us, so I think we're all a bit of everything.
Only three of you. So who are the other two?
So there's me, my dad, Noel, who's 78, and my husband, Neil.
And the channel is Talking Pictures TV, and that can be found on Virgin 445, Freesat 306, Freeview or UView, depending on what flavour you have on your television set at channel 82, is that right? And Sky Digital 328, and it's also available as sort of an app, a player, TPT Encore now.
That's right, yeah, free catch-up service, or you can subscribe to not have ads.
Again, thanks a lot for coming along. I'd be very interested to know, what were you doing before the channel started? Were you in a similar industry at all?
So I started as an actress. I was in a series with Russell Brand and Susie Blake and Victoria Wicks and others that you'll probably know, called Mud for the BBC. That was probably my biggest thing, and I did a few films and adverts and stuff. And then I started as a runner, as everybody does. Making cups of tea everywhere that would have me, BBC, ITV, Channel 4, so making ideas for programmes constantly. I did a bit of work with Dad as well at his distribution company at the same time. And then I went into production. I went to live in Africa for 4 years, and that kind of springboarded me into taking the news cruise around Africa, which means I started getting my production credits while I was doing volunteer work, because I used to show them where to get their water and where's the best place to film, where's safe and what wasn't safe out in Kenya, Sudan and Somalia. And then, came back, went to work in production with Dad for a bit with the great Bruce Burgess, and made Area 51 and Bermuda Triangle and all that sort of thing. And then went to work for Tonight with Trev. That was quite an eye-opener. Made a few factual bits and bobs for Tonight with Trevor and Sky Real Lives. Don't know if you remember that channel, but I made The Man Who Had Minutes to Live, who thank God is still with us. That was great. And then went back into film distribution, and that's why we launched Talking Pictures, really, because we used to sell films to all the major broadcasters. So Channel 4, Channel 5, BBC. We would be the provider of the black and white afternoon matinee. And they all stopped buying black and white films. And we thought, well, what's going on? And then Dad, being 70 odd, kept turning on the telly and couldn't find anything to watch. And he was like, this is outrageous. The TV's just forgotten about my age group. And the rest is history.
Yeah, well, the Monday matinee, as I remembered it all the time on on telly. I'm sure I should have been at school, but I always remember Crown Court and the Monday matinee, and they've made a resurgence, obviously, on the channel that you have now, and
Lucozade with the rapper.
Lucozade with it, yes, indeed, yeah, that's yeah, but yeah, so the click moment was really your father just seeing the movies that used to be aired on terrestrial television just not being there anymore.
Yeah, I mean that's a big part of it. And also he was asking, what's happened to such and such a series and why is that not on telly? I mean, he knows all about rights and licensing and everything because he's been in the industry forever. But he's the one that spotted the gap in the market. I got to be honest, I wasn't brave enough to make the move to broadcasting because we knew nothing about broadcasting. You know, we'd never been that side of the industry, either of us. So it was him that made the leap of faith. And we went round everywhere. You know, we went to all the big wigs in telly and said, look, we want to launch this channel that's predominantly black and white, and we want to bring back TV series, and we want to play the films, we want to have look at life in between, and, you know, a bit like a trip to the cinema in the 60s. And they all told us we were stark raving bonkers. They said, there's no way people will watch that. You know, that's years ago. You're 20, 30 years too late. And who's laughing now?
Absolutely, absolutely. So you mentioned about getting it started and making the leap into sort of like going onto the broadcast side. You know, what were the challenges on doing that?
Loads. I mean, you've got to have funding, you've got to have an archive of films, you've got to get your Ofcom license, you've got to get satellite capacity, then you've got to think about your Freeview capacity. It's a minefield, and it was just me and Dad kind of navigating our way through it all, pretending we knew exactly what we were doing, and clearly didn't have a clue looking back. It's tough, you know. I mean, getting the broadcast license isn't easy. And Dad and I are both dyslexic as well, so trying to navigate all the forms was a bit of a battle for both of us. And very quickly we realized we'd run out of content. I mean, even though we had an archive of hundreds of films that we owned and series, you know, when you broadcast 24/7, channel just eats content like you wouldn't believe. You know, we'd play a film twice in, say, 3 months, and people would go, "You're full of repeats." You know, but I think on that, actually, I think one of the biggest things of our success, touch wood, long may it continue, is our relationship with the audience. Because there aren't any other TV channels, I would say, we can ring them up for a chat and, you know, buy a book, buy a ticket, come to an event, but just have a chat or a moan, tell them what you don't like, tell them what you do like, ask them why the subtitles aren't working, etc., etc., etc. And I think it's that relationship, because we do listen, you know. I mean, obviously you get audience data overnight, that's a whole other kettle of fish, but which we both analyze every morning. But your real audience are the ones that ring you and write. I mean, our postman's, God bless him, hello Malcolm, you know, we get sacks of post every day, of people writing in, which I think is probably a bit unusual these days.
Yeah, the engagement from the audience is what the big mega corporations, so to speak, think that they're getting, but they never do. They have to launch all sorts of things to try and engage with their audience, and you wonder if it's there half the time. But when you get a mailbag, you know it's there, don't you? And that must be quite it must be quite a validating experience to get people, you know, writing in, taking the time just to give you some feedback.
I love it. This will make you laugh. Where's that letter I got this morning? Don't know if you can see this. Dear Caroline Munro, can you present the Cellar Club naked or at least topless as a treat? Sincerely, Ian. No address.
Oh, well, how can you possibly write back?
Oh, I know. But we get funny things like that all the time. There was one the other day. I don't know where I put it in. I keep them all. So everybody who writes in gets a badge from us and a postcard if they leave their address and they're not rude. The rude ones get nothing, but they do get put on the board. Oh, this is Bernie Clifton up here. And we did a gig with Bernie, and he sent me the funniest letter. He did an event with us in Hebden Bridge. Brilliant place, beautiful, beautiful cinema. And that's another thing that I love, is all our live events that we do, because it gets us to meet the audience, you know, and have a chat with them. But yeah, he did a gig with us, and he said really enjoyed the rehearsal. It's written on, because he's doing another one for us in St Albans. He said, let's talk about future plans soon. Although I have to tell you, as I approach middle age, I think he's late 80s, he says, I don't buy green bananas.
Brilliant.
I love
Oh,
that.
that's good. Yeah. So you mentioned the events that you have. Then is that sort of like where you go to sort of like a picture house and
Yeah.
have a screening and some
It's
Q&A sessions?
Yeah, it's a bit like old-fashioned variety. We'll have a magician and a ventriloquist, and one of the stars will come and talk about their careers, and we'll show a film and we'll show a short, and we'll have a sing-song, and it's not really Q&As as such. I find them a bit stuffy, a bit
Hmm.
boring.
Bit
This is
dry. Yeah.
Yeah, this is more like let's have a chat and look back at their careers, and a lot more friendly, I would say, our gigs. Our film festivals are very friendly. A lot of people come on their own and then follow us all around the country because it's quite a nice bunch.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And with the channel, I think my mum got me onto talking
Yeah.
pictures. Sort of like look at these actors when they were young. And watching it with her. But when I was like asking about the channel a few years back, she said that you started in a shed. Is that true?
In the shed,
In the shed or in a shed? Yeah.
still there.
Oh, right. And do you still run from there now?
The schedule, we call it.
Oh,
Yeah, we've
right.
got two sheds now.
Right. Two
We've
sheds.
got two sheds. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. And how does that work? Do you have like without too many trade secrets, obviously, but is that where the broadcasts all come out from there on an ISDN line or something?
I have this vision. Have you ever seen the film The Smallest Show on Earth? Love it. Watch it. That is us to a T. But I have visions of Dad on the bike trying to get the electric going to get the transmitter to send the feed. No, we don't transmit from here, thank God. We do everything else from here, but we don't transmit from here. That's from a massive play out centre in Chiswick. Um, and then we have another company that kind of put all the adverts in the break parts and sell the advertising. Not our, they work for us, another little company. We try and use little people to kind of plug little bits of technology all the way along. But yeah, no, we don't transmit from here.
How does the advertising work then? Do you just contract that out and they just fill the gaps, or do you have any editorial say over what's
Very
advertised?
little say. I mean, over Christmas, I mean, that poor dead donkey, I must have seen it a billion times. No offense to the donkey sanctuary. And we really appreciate all the support of all the advertisers, but it's so tough.
Mm.
So tough. Because one of the things when Dad and I launched was, we were adamant that we wanted to be free. And free telly is just plummeting. The advertisers are all going online and streaming, which is stupid, really, because my audience are going to be the ones that'll be watching telly till they turn it off, and they're not on streaming. So we have very little say, and we're just very grateful for people that spend advertising revenue with us. And it may be, half the time Dad and I sit here and go, oh my God, this is so depressing. And then I think, well, at the end of the day, it means you can watch Dixon and Dot Green again for free. So
That's right. Yeah, you're not having to go to sort of like a brick box type thing and have to pay a subscription to watch it. So
yeah,
yeah. So when you're talking about getting material to play, because like you said, the channel can consume it at quite a rate. How do you obtain other material for broadcast? Do you have to sort of like yeah, where do you search this stuff out?
so we do buy archives, obviously. That's a big part of what we do, which take years to research. I mean, we've just become the proud owners of the Danziger archive, which I'm hugely proud that we own that now, but only in the last 48 hours, funny enough. There you go, exclusive.
Exclusive, thank you.
Um, we go to all the major. I mean, you'd be surprised how many British films are owned by the Americans. Huge, huge. And of course, you can't go and buy one film. You have to buy a massive package, which takes months to organise. We buy a lot from the BBC, from the ITV archives. We buy a lot from Studio Canal, who own a huge amount of British productions. And various archives. We're quite fortunate that we know what Dad's known because he used to sell film. He knows loads of people in the industry, so it's quite easy to kind of navigate our way to other smaller archives. We buy a lot from Fremantle as well. They're quite a cool archive to buy from. But at the end of the day, it comes down to cost. It's all expensive. I mean, if I told you what it cost us for a film or an episode, I think you'd fall off your chair. So it's a case of pacing it, working out your cash flow, working out how much you've got coming in advertising, and then budgeting. And then, of course, we make our own shows as well, which have been really well received by the public. I mean, Dad and Mike Reed show on a Sunday at 5, The Footage Detectives. I make that in my sister's old bedroom. I write the scripts, I do the research, I do the makeup, I make the tea, I do the auto cue, I do all the clearances, I direct them, I produce it, and then we put it out every Sunday at 5 o'clock. And you'd laugh. I mean, it's enjoyed by 160 odd thousand viewers every Sunday at 5.
Oh, that's absolutely brilliant to know, because you can just see the passion and the enthusiasm of it, especially when I read some letters out and things like that. It's very good. It's excellent. It's excellent. I guess there's a couple of questions I'll lead on from that. Is that I mean, are you now the go-to people for when a network sort of rings up and they want to try and offload some old archive? I mean, are you the go-to people for that now, or is there quite a few that go for it?
We're quite the ambassadors for saving celluloid. It's been amazing what's been found in the skip over the years. Not by us, but other people who send it in. Yeah, I would hope that, especially due to the footage detectives, that any kind of private collection would get in touch with us. Yeah.
And when you
100%.
secure the archives, what form does it come in? You mentioned celluloid. Does it all come in old tins and cans?
Yeah, yeah. I wish I could show you. Can't get the door open at the moment to get outside because there's so many cans of film. But yeah, it's a complete mixture. It can be cans of film, it can be file, it can be digital stuff. It can be stuff that absolutely stinks to high heaven because it's got vinegar syndrome and it needs cleaning quickly to save it. Tape, we still get stuff on tape, broadcast tape, not VHS. We don't play from VHS. Makes me laugh the amount of people that ring up and say, "Oh, I've got a DVD here of, I don't know, the Lavender Hill Mob. Could you put it on for me this afternoon if I drop it in?" Yeah, which I love. I'm not. So yeah, so various formats. Yeah, and sometimes the reels will come with sound on one and vision on the other, and we have to match it all up. And we've got a great team of fellow celluloid savers that do our transfers. So Dad's got his own machine here that he can view stuff on, and then it gets farmed out to either Phil Clark at the Cinema Museum. Great place. If you've never been, you've got to visit it. It's amazing. I love that place. And also the fabulous Tim Emblem English, who is called the Flying Spot, and he takes the reels and does his magic, and then we end up with files. But I think we're one of the only channels that does start with film first still.
Yeah, but I find that really fascinating that the physical media comes in, and how do you store that? Because can it be sort of like, well, you've alluded to how sort of like volatile the media can be. Is that sort of like stored somewhere, air conditioned and things like that, just to make sure?
I tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And we do have a professional warehouse that takes some stuff, but other stuff, I can't tell you where we're storing.
Okay, no, that's fair comment. That's a fair comment. The audiences that are watching it now have a different attitude to when when the stuff first came out. Do you get any challenges from audiences and the way that their attitude is that to the stuff has changed? Like a cancel culture, like trying to stop you from airing stuff or anything like that.
Well, I don't think my audience attitude has changed because generally they were there when it was first broadcast anyway. So they've seen it, done it, been there, got the t-shirt, and have come out the other side. So I don't think they're effective. And in fact, if anything, the biggest thing I get complaints about is why have I put a board up to tell them that they may be offended by some language used because they used to use that language or they used to hear that language or whatever. But of course, that's part of the broadcasting code, so we have to do things like that. Um, I wouldn't really say I've got the audience. I mean, we have had Ofcom complaints we've had to deal with, obviously, but I am very much of the belief that we are an archive channel. And I think anybody that watching us, if you're going to watch a film from the 50s, times have changed. Well, I mean, there are certain words that I absolutely will not broadcast unless I can find a slot where people watching it would be expecting that kind of language, maybe. There is some stuff that, is just too embarrassing, quite frankly. But yeah, for the most part, I think I've shouted loud and proud that our channel is archive, and you will be expected to see things from different times here. And if that's going to offend you, don't watch it.
With rights issues, has that sort of created a problem with any of your archive that you've got that, what sort of checks do you have to do to make sure that you can play a whole film with the complete soundtrack in, or.
Most of that is done by the people that we buy it from, to be honest. They come with clearances. It's not down to us to clear things like that. It's already done.
I found it quite odd. I mean, I was watching a rerun of White House and Mortimer going fishing, and they were talking about a song in there. And I remember the song being played in the end credits in the original broadcast, and when it was rerun on a different channel, they didn't run that particular music. And I wondered if that was sort of like they only had the rights to show it on that music on the BBC channel and not on Dave.
I mean, especially when you're working with older content, things do change. I mean, Out of Town's a good example of that because I always grew up listening to Max Bygraves, Out of Town. And when we got it, I was expecting it to have Max Bygraves over the front and end titles. But the people that own it now, which is Jack's family, made the decision that they couldn't clear the rights for the Max Bygraves original track, so they changed it.
Mm. But you normally know by the time you've got it whether you can do it or not, so you don't get sort of like anyone contact you saying don't show that again or anything
Never
like
had
that.
that. Never
No,
had that.
oh,
No.
that's cool. That's it. Well, believe it or not, with my podcast, I have at least one listener because I have a listener question for you, Sarah. And this guy's goes by the name of Chinny Vision, and he says he's got a very good YouTube channel, actually. He says, is there any chance of a Southern season, a different thing every week, perhaps, even a Trevor Baker all-weather show? And he says, yes, he has the T-shirt.
Oh, bless him. Yeah, I mean, we're very proud to own a lot of the Southern. He's talking about the Southern TV archive, isn't he?
He is, yes, yes.
Just before I get my wires crossed. We don't own Wurzel. We had to buy that in. And we don't own a lot of the factual stuff, sadly. What we tend to own is some of their sort of flagship drama series. We have put the entire archive on Encore for free. And we do play bits of it. Um, I mean, Spearhead's great. We've played that a couple of times. Rogues Rock, I love because a lot of the family of the lead actors get in touch, like his kids and grandkids and stuff. So yeah, I mean, we do kind of dip it into the schedules. I'm not sure. I see what you mean. It's like, could we have a Southern TV hour? Something like an appointment TV, but it is all there and accessible. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I am very passionate about is to get all the archive stuff seen. There's too many archives, not naming any names, public archives, should we say? We'll never see half the stuff in those archives, and it's just so frustrating. It's a daily battle.
Yeah, so there are more gatekeepers siloing it up rather than actually sharing it out for the people.
See, because soon the audience that want to see it won't be here anymore.
And that'd be very sad. That is sad. And I'm sort of second generation on this anyway. And there is an audience out there, across many generations for TPtv, and I really enjoy it, and it's good. And that brings me on to a point I wanted to make on a technical thing, really, Sarah, was that being the recent owner of Sky Stream, which is the box which takes all the fun out of receiving signals from a dish, I look
Yeah.
for talking pictures on it and it's not there. And I just, you must have been asked this at least two or three times.
Good
But
thousand. Yeah.
yeah, why is Sky Stream not showing talking pictures TV?
So first off, when they first launched and I approached them and said, how much are the fees for us to be on there? It was all to do with our technical quality. Now, remember, a lot of our stuff is found on 16mm prints. And although I can up-res it to HD, I'm never going to get HD. Just can't. It's not what we do. It's not what we're about. And you wouldn't see half the stuff that I'm able to play now because we're not HD. So that was kind of a big stumbling block. And we looked at various ways of up-resing stuff, as I said, and and then they made the announcement that they don't want to take on any new channels anymore
Hmm,
on Sky Stream or Sky Glass.
hmm.
So you'll have to speak to Sky, I'm afraid.
No,
Not my department.
that's very bizarre, and that's a good
Got
enough
your old
answer.
dish. Plug it in and
Yeah,
you'll get it.
well, this is it. So I've got my Freesat box that's actually next to it, and I keep that on for your and some other channels that aren't available on the on over the internet sort of thing. And
Great.
I prefer to fight for my signals by moving a dish about anyway. It's all the fun of viewings gone out of it with me with the streaming thing. But just with that, they do have apps and plugins on there, and I just wondered at some point would there be, I don't know, some miracle we could get TPT Encore maybe on their streaming platform.
Maybe, I don't know. Launching on different platforms for Encore is quite a process. And we were on Android TV and Fire Stick and Roku and all that stuff, but it takes time and it's expensive, so we just got to do it gradually.
Absolutely, no, that's good enough for me. So you've. I was going to ask you if you've got any more plans to get more archives. That the answer to that is yes, all the time, I guess.
Yeah,
And
always.
so now that you're in your 10th year of broadcasting, what do you think what do you think the channel's biggest achievement is?
Still being here. Still being here, still pulling an audience in. Yeah, I'm very proud that we've reached our 10th year. There were rocky roads, I'm not gonna lie. There were rocky paths. But yeah, we're here.
Oh, that's good. And what advice would you give to anyone who wanted to start a similar endeavor?
Don't do it. I mean, obviously, nature of the game. Recently, we've had loads of similar channels, shall we say, some which have tried and failed, some which are still trying and probably will fail. Don't want to wish them bad luck, but so I was kind of prepared for that. I wasn't quite prepared for how some of them would completely, duplicate our schedules and and go to the same suppliers. That was a bit of a kick, shall we say? And even use our wording in their launch press releases. They were like, if you like talking pitch, you'll love us. Thanks for that.
Hmm.
So yes, my biggest advice would be don't do it. And my second advice would be definitely don't do it. It's 7 days a week, non-stop. We have very little time as a family and stuff. It's difficult. It can be quite difficult. Um, and also, what is the future of free TV? I mean, I want to still be around, but can you see other channels launching on a terrestrial service? I mean, I don't think so. I think we're all going to have to move to that streaming thing eventually,
Hmm.
because there just won't be any capacity, any terrestrial capacity. Nobody will need an aerial. But let's hope that's a little way off yet.
Yeah, I'd certainly miss the on the linear side. It's the idea that you're not the only person watching something at exactly the
I
same
love
time.
that. Yeah, I love
Uh,
that.
and there's also what they call an archive panic as well with some of these streaming services where they want to get everything, and then like you say, they either don't show it or they lose it overnight and don't signpost you to where they can get it again.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just brought Supercar, by the way. I thought Supercar would be a nice Saturday morning pictures.
Yeah. Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, I'll certainly look out for that. And on the when you do get new content, do you tend to tweet that out or put that on your website?
Oh, I mean, we do quite a lot on social media, but we have a free newsletter we send out every Sunday at 12 with a little quiz. You can win a prize, a badge. So yeah, so I would definitely encourage people to sign up for the free newsletter. You just visit the website and it says sign up, or Peggy Mount will tell you off in a loud booming voice. So yeah, sign up, just put your email address in, and yeah, we'll send you an email every Sunday at 12.
Oh well, I'm doing that the moment we finish recording, Sarah.
Hey,
So that'd be great. And any plans for the next 10 years?
still be here. Still be here. That'd be my plan. Yeah, just keep going.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Lovely. Yeah, take care. Good luck.
Yeah, lovely. And best of luck for the channel. When are you exactly 10?
May the something. Do you know what? I think it's around Peter Cushing's birthday. The 20th, something like that.
Thanks again to Sarah for her generous time on recording the podcast with me. And here's to another 10 years of Talking Pictures TV at least. It's a free-to-air channel. You can get it on Virgin 445, Freesat 306, Freeview UView channel 82, and Sky Digital channel 328. You can also get the player TPT Encore, and you can get that from their website, Talking Pictures TV, all one word.co.uk. I hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as I do making them. You can show your appreciation maybe by liking or sharing the podcast or telling other people about it. If you feel inclined, you can buy me a coffee, which would help to offset some of the costs that it takes to host a podcast. You can get that on ko-fi.com/bite-high. Until next time, keep it blocky.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.